Hey, what's going on, guys? We are going to go back to a topic that was one of my viewed videos and also one of my most heavily disliked videos because I trigger the fuck out of the Yang Gang because I dare criticize their dear leader and criticize their plan to get $1,000 a month. I really ruffled some feathers because I really pissed them off. I don't care right now about that pop-up. I trigger the fuck out of them. They were just so mad that someone dare criticize them being able to get $1,000 free for just sitting on their fat ass and doing absolutely fucking nothing. Taking away $1,000 from hardworking, tax-paying Americans, by the way. They just hated that because that's the culture we live in. It's just gimme, get. Yang gang, hashtag get the bag or hashtag secure the bag. Or any of that gay shit that Yang Gang's doing. Hashtag secure the bag. Get the bag, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the implications of the policies. It doesn't matter that Yang's talking out his ass and says things that aren't true. We're going to go through everything. I got all my sources lined up. It's going to be a very fun video. Because I'm going to show, once again, that Yang doesn't know what he's talking about. Says things that aren't correct, and we're going to prove that. And how his policies are extremely harmful. They sound good. Just give everyone $1,000 free dollars. That would be awesome. Oh, but what does it actually mean? Unintended consequences. That's what will happen. Let's get into it, shall we? Here we have a article by Wired. Andrew Yang's presidential bid is so very 21st century. Well, the thing is, it's really not. It's actually very 20th century. Why? Because these socialist policies have already been tried before. In many different countries, in many different circumstances, and every single time, guess what? I know you guys will be shocked about this. They don't work. It's probably fair to say that in the history of politicking, few politicians have publicly declared what to do about America's crumbling malls, or how to provide free marriage counseling, or how to make filing taxes fun. Well, I don't know about the first two, because malls, if they're getting beat out by online realtors, that's their fault for not being able to adapt. Walmart's adapting. Sears didn't. Boom. There you go. Don't care about that. The third one, you can make filing taxes fun by abolishing most taxes. Like income tax? Fuck that. You can make it so you can do what Cliff Hyra, the governor candidate for Virginia, proposed. Everyone making $50,000, the first $50,000 you make are tax-free. You can make that fun. That'd be really fun. Oh, but you don't want that, do you? You want secure the bag. But I digress. Let's get into the meat of the article. Otherwise, we'll be hung up on these that cute little first sentence. It's so cute. But Andrew Yang, who's gunning to be the Democratic presidential candidate in 2020, certainly has, and those are the more minor concerns, among a dizzying, saying that word is dizzying, list of 80 policy positions on his campaign website. It's indication that Yang is running on a rather methodical, man, I can't talk today. This is amazing. A rather methodical, data-driven, science-happy campaign. Well, no, it's not. It's absolutely not. His argument is not supported by the data. His argument is not data-driven. The data disproves everything he says. It is all emotional-driven. It's not science-happy. It's not science-driven. It's not data-driven. It's not logical-driven at all. It's all emotional. His whole slick is that automation. He wants to drive fear into the heart of Americans with automation, robots. They are coming to take your jobs. You'll be replaced by a robot. You'll be replaced with automation. That's not data. Data doesn't suggest that at all. What he's doing is all emotional based. Your job will be replaced. You will be left without a job. You will be on the streets. Your family will suffer unless you vote for me, and I will give you $1,000 per month. All pure emotion, not based on logic whatsoever. As we'll get into it. He's applying that approach to more standard issue problems like labor, climate change, and the economy, but giving them a decidedly tech-forward approach, how and why we should define robots, what use might geoengineering having saving the planet, or whether the government should embrace universal basic income and give every American $1,000. Yang talked with Wired about all this in a recent interview. Matt Simon, you've been talking a lot about automation. We've had waves of automation before, but now with robots and AI, things seem different. Why wouldn't it be a transition that we saw in mass mechanization of agriculture where people shift into other jobs? Andrew Yang. 4 million manufacturing workers lost their jobs over the last number of years. According to economic theory and the president you just referred to, then these 4 million workers would get retrained, reskilled, and relocated and find new jobs in other industry. That's absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. He says in reality, nearly half of them left the workforce and never worked again. As that group, nearly half filed for disability. But that's just, he cherry-picked. He cherry-picked his answer. He said, why wouldn't the transition be different? And then Andrew replies with a cherry-picked example from just manufacturing workers over the last number of years. That is such a specific thing that doesn't answer the question. I can answer the same way. I can say, well, back in the 1900s, where horse-driven carriages were the norm, they were complaining when people started making cars, when Ford made his cars, and people were buying cars en masse, and people were going away from horse-ridden carriages. They were protesting the government to stop Ford manufacturing from making cars, from making them so cheap, because they were driving them out of business. Same thing to taxi workers with Uber. That's a recent example. If you don't want something that's decades and decades old, taxi workers are constantly petitioning the government to have them clamp down on Uber and Lyft and all those rideshare or apps and stuff like that because they're putting them out of business. To which I reply, tough shit. They're adapting to the market. They are providing a better product and a better service than you. That's how capitalism works. That's how we get good products and good service. We don't say, oh, this industry is getting beat out. Let's stifle innovation. Let's stifle new job creators and keep these guys afloat because they're not adapting to the economy. No, that's not how it works. Because we would still be in horse-ridden carriages if we did that. We wouldn't have cars if we did that. That is not the correct way to approach innovation. You embrace innovation. You say Uber is providing a better product, better service, it's cheaper. Taxi drivers, why don't you work for Uber? Why don't you work for Lyft? You have to adapt. As a worker, you have to adapt to the economy and technology, which is constantly changing. You can't tell the government to meddle in the economy and hold people down so you don't get your fifis hurt and you can keep your now redundant job. No, that's not how it works. That's how you get failed economies, like Greece, in Spain, in Venezuela. 3 off the top of my head I can just think of. Socialist command-control economies don't work. You have to embrace innovation, embrace people who are thinking outside the box, that create different products or do the same product differently. Same thing with services, different services, or the same service in a different way. Otherwise, you fall behind, your economy crashes. So Andrew Yang is completely wrong. People adapted to having computers in the office, for example. Back in the day, everything was paper. Everything was paper filing cabinets. Nothing was on computers. Computers didn't exist in offices because only the military had computers when they're first being developed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Now, every single office on the face of the planet has computers. Office workers adapted. They adapted from using office cabinets to learning Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. That's how the economy works. People who can't adjust to working on a computer, tough shit. You have to learn to adapt. And that's where you get the stereotypes of all these stupid boomers not figuring out how to insert a picture into Word. I would spend half an hour just talking about this article, but I don't want to, because I have all these articles that I have to talk about. We would be here for 2 hours. I don't have time for that. We're going to go into something that's going to pivot into all these other articles we're talking about. Where did he talk about Alaska? That's what I want to talk about. The interviewer, would you point to any UBI pilot programs that would back up with solid data that this is a good idea, in fact, a necessary idea? Andrew Yang, the best data we have is one state has had a dividend for 37 years. Everyone in Alaska gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. Right off the bat, we can see the huge difference between what he's citing and what his policy proposal is. What he's citing is minuscule compared to what he is proposing. Alaska gets every person in Alaska gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. What he is proposing is everyone getting $1,000 per month. His program is astronomically bigger than this program. How could you possibly point to a much smaller program and say, yep, this is going to work 100 million times bigger? No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, man. You can't take how Sweden, for example, plans their economy. How much does Sweden have? Under 10 million. You cannot point to economic programs that Sweden has when they have a population of 10 million, when we have a population of 327 million. Astronomically more people. There is no fucking way. There is just no way. That's what people don't understand. They constantly point to socialist programs in Sweden, Norway, for example, and say, yeah, we should do this in the US. No. No. You can't. It doesn't work. We'll go into it. So he points to this pilot program in Alaska as a success and a reason why we should embrace his program. And it's wildly popular. Just because something popular doesn't mean it works right. As evidenced by the Yang Gang, his socialist policies are widely popular. They fucking suck. It has created thousands of jobs, improved children's health, has decreased income inequality, and has stood the test of time through many, many different governors and administrators because everyone loves it. You don't need to look very far to even know the country to find an incredibly successful example of a dividend in action. What's funny, Yang, because we're going to go into Alaska's dividend and show how everything you just said is completely false, except for the fact that, yes, they do get between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. That part is correct. But the part about creating jobs, improving health, decreased income inequality, and how it's successful, no, all that's wrong, Yang. All that's wrong. I'm going to show you Yang bangers, you Yang gang bangers who are just so gay for these socialist programs that will wreck the economy, why you are incorrect. From Forbes, does a universal basic income discourage work? The researchers found that unconditional payments to residents had no real impact upon full-time employment levels, whether positive or negative, although they did find that part-time work increased by 17%. Well, part-time work doesn't pay family bills, doesn't sustain families. That doesn't put food on the table or gas in the car. That's just extra cash. So Andrew Yang's proposal would not affect full-time employment levels. Now, it wouldn't hurt it, but it wouldn't improve it either. This is not going to help people do anything. It doesn't help people's jobs. All it does is just create a huge deficit in debt for whatever government does it. So you're spending all this money and you have no impact upon full-time employment levels. But I thought Yang Gang, I thought that was supposed to have an impact on full-time employment levels, so then when automation, the fear of automation, whenever that comes, then people will be okay. Oh, but it doesn't. It doesn't in Alaska, the thing that he cited. Create thousands of jobs? Oh, you forgot to mention, Andrew Yang, that's only part-time work. It didn't affect full-time work. What's the point of creating thousands of part-time jobs that don't pay anything? That don't sustain families? That's what he constantly talks about. UBI will sustain families through this automation, that they will be able to survive. Well, no, it won't. According to the research, but I thought your campaign was data-driven. I thought it was science-happy. I thought it was methodical. But you didn't look at this research, did you, Yang? No, you didn't. Because you're too busy proposing to your Yang bangers. I was going to give you free shit for you to be the laziest motherfucker in existence. Oh, what a coincidence. Here's another article. For 40 years, Alaska has modeled a universal income. Now that's in peril. Is there a way to save a dividend through taxing the rich or slashing state services? Well, wait, both of those sound bad, Yang Gang. Taxing more taxes? You want to stifle growth. You want to stifle the people that are giving you jobs, because the rich are the people, they're the job creators. They're the company creators. They're the huge companies that provide you with all these goods and services at a very cheap rate. And they're the ones that create jobs, the ones that you work for. We're slashing state services. You're going to take away from old granny? You're going to take away her services of Medicaid and Medicare? You heartless bastard. How could you? Here's another little gem about the Alaska Permanent Fund. These funds exist mostly in oil-rich places like Norway, Kuwait, and Alberta. What a coincidence. What a coincidence that these mostly are found in places that their economies are sustained by oil. That's like saying Saudi Arabia has a strong economy. No, it's all dependent. They just happen to be in a place that has a lot of oil. Once that oil runs out, then they're going to have no money for all these funds. That's what I'm saying. Something that exists in Norway or Alaska that just happens to have a resource that is one of the most important resources on the planet that they can sell for. Their whole economy is banking on oil. If it wasn't for oil, Alaska would not have the strong economy that it does. They wouldn't be able to afford this universal income. Once that oil runs out, how are you going to pay for it, man? How are you going to... You don't think of these things, do you? No, you don't, because all you care about is getting $1,000 a month. Now Alaskans are grappling with profound questions about the dividend's future and, by extensions, the state's. 2 years before the dividends began, when Alaska was awash in new oil money, legislators abolished the income tax. Now these heady oil boom days are over, leaving massive holes in the state budget. But what did I tell you? It's like the previous video I did with Andrew Yang. This stuff is so expensive. How are you going to pay for it? His plans of taxing the rich or taxing companies or putting new taxes on companies in certain situations is not enough. Like I said, it would be trillions and trillions of dollars. It would be astronomically bigger than any other government program we have. It would just eclipse everything else in the budget. It would be a huge chunk in the pie charts. And Alaska is dealing with this. Now that the oil is not worth as much as it used to, they're in a deficit. They're racking up debt, being able to continue this program. They don't know how to continue it. They don't know whether to raise taxes on the rich or to slash other state services, because they have no idea how they're going to pay for it, which is what I've been telling you guys this whole time. There's no way you can afford this. If Alaska, with a population of... Alaska has a population of less than 1 million. If Alaska, which is astronomically, their economy is sustained by oil. Oil is the only thing keeping it so strong. If that thing, it's like it's a cheat code. It's like having oil is like a cheat code for a state or a country. You just have everything easier. Everything you do is so much easier because you have so much money for just happening to be in a certain location. Same thing with tourist places, but that's beside the point. So Alaska, who is propped up by oil, and has a population of less than 1 million, you think the same program is going to work in the U.S., which has 327 million? I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you think that's the case, then you're stupid. There is no way. There is no way we can pay for all that. The dividend is half. It's almost half. It's $1,100 instead of $2,000 because they can't afford it. They had to dip into other funds in order to pay for it. It's shaken politics. It's created this whole mess. They're facing tough choices. They can't sustain this program. Why would you want this program for the country when one state can't do it? Who has cheat codes and has a sliver of the population? Oh my God, how can I just... That's just the second article. We're just going into more of this stuff. In case, this is just a side note, in case you didn't believe the Forbes article because you think Forbes works for the banks or they're part of the establishment, here is a website that is dedicated to basic income. They have the same conclusion. It has no overall effect on employment. I'm running out of time here, so let's continue. This is the last article. This is from Anchorage Daily News. News in Alaska. No one knows the situation in Alaska on the ground better than they do. Better than these privileged socialist assholes who make up Yang Gang, who grew up in such privilege and think I know better than these guys. I know better than these guys who study politics in the economy for years and years and years and years. Socialists around the world, that's you, Yang Bangers. That's you guys. Look to Alaska as the best example of universal basic income with our Alaska Permanent Fund dividend. What they don't realize is that dividends become their worst nightmare. After writing positively about the dividend for decades, the last 3 years have changed my mind. Dividend has changed Alaska in negative ways as founders never imagined. Unintended consequences. You guys proposed these absolutely ridiculously horrible policies that sound good and would help you in the short run because you only care about yourself. You never think of unintended consequences. I'm not going to read this whole article because I'm running out of time. I got things to do. Outside Alaska, observers seem unaware of that hazard. Oh, that's you guys. You're outside of Alaska and you have no idea about this hazard. What a surprise. Alaska faces some of the nation's worst social problems: sexual assault, violence, substance abuse, suicide. Yet, despite Alaska's extraordinary wealth, spending is comparable to other states where citizens pay taxes when measured in comparable terms. Now we have decided to cut spending further, except for our largest single expenditure, which will increase the dividend. Because he feels obligated, Alaska politicians feel obligated to continue this because people are so greedy and keep on wanting it. It's so popular. Yang was correct when he said it was popular. It was popular when these lazy motherfuckers who just want free money. So now they are just killing their own economy in order to sustain this this program. They're cutting spending in other ways in order to make money for this. They're thinking of raising taxes or cutting social services in order to pay for this. He regrets repealing the income tax. No, income tax is theft, man. No, see, that's the problem. So now he's thinking, maybe I should steal from more people in order to pay for this. High income earners say they won't pay taxes to have money dispersed to dividends to people who don't need it. What a surprise. Like I said, when you tax high income people for these shitty programs, they're just going to leave. They're just going to say, well, I'm just going to go somewhere else so I don't have to pay all this money. Any oil tax bill, look at that. You can't do that. You can't tax one of your biggest products. That's off the table. So then with this, Hammond was right that dividend would change us. He didn't see how much or how negatively. He didn't anticipate the dividend becoming the primary purpose of state government. Unintended consequences. He couldn't have foreseen that people view the government, its primary purpose is just give me stuff for free. That is absolutely morally wrong. The dividend privatizes Alaska's future. It cemented citizens' roles as takers. It is not worth copying. This is someone from Alaska who has praised this deal in the past, who's saying now, no, it's bad. It's not worth copying. It has cemented citizens' roles as takers. That's what you Yang gangbangers are. You're takers. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Get. Take. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care how it hurts hardworking people. I just don't care. I just want my bag. Hashtag secure the bag. Hashtag give me money. Hashtag I'm a lazy fat fuck who doesn't want to work. I just want free money. So Andrew Yang, that's why, again, another reason why I don't support his program. The thing he cited is a train wreck. It's doing just what I said. Oh, I hate to say that I'm right once again, but I said that it would raise taxes, it would create a deficit in debt, it would create problems for the government because they have no idea how to pay for it, it would create social unrest, not social unrest, but just social strife, because people will be divided. They would just pit against each other because of this problem that should never exist, because you never should exist. You shouldn't never have made this socialist policy. All of these problems I said would happen with his program, and now we have proof. Proof in Alaska. The thing that he cited himself as this is a good example of it. Well, no, it's not, Yang. No, it's not. And if you just bothered to do research for 10 minutes, you would know that. But you don't care. You just want to bribe voters with $1,000 a month free of charge. You just don't give a shit, do you? This is why his idea is bad. This is why I oppose Andrew Yang. This is why I will continue to make videos against him, even though I know I'm going to get downvoted like a motherfucker on this video, because his Yang Gang bangers are going to flock to this video and downvote it and just uncontrollably in the comments saying how I'm a horrible person, I'm a racist, how I hate poor people, or whatever, just whatever insult they want to throw at me. And they will never criticize any of these sources. They will never criticize any of these studies. They will never criticize any of these stats. None of these things they will ever talk about. And that's why I know I'm right.